Hi, and welcome to our third midweek update. I'm Devon Wills, one of your co-hosts, along with Ali Akbar. And we have a special guest with us this evening, Matt Margolis. He's an author. We're going to be discussing his book and then the usual items that we discuss every Wednesday night. But how are you guys doing today?
Doing good. I think we're recovering in Louisiana here. I'm so excited to have for a number of years. I want to say it was 3 years. Matt and I did a show called The American Resolve. So I guess it seems a little befitting that the first guest ever on the Dissent show should be my old buddy and co-host of The American Resolve, Matt. And I can't wait to plug this book, but we'll get into that later. Matt, how's the weather up in New York?
Pretty hot, actually. It's something in the 80s today. So no, it wasn't snowing or anything like everyone thinks up in Buffalo. But I'm just trying to enjoy the last few weeks of summer.
And who's that beauty in the back?
That's Zuzu. It's my sweet little dog. He's joining us as well.
Nice.
Well, before we...
Devin.
Hey, yes, actually, this was unintentional. I was like, what shirt should I wear tonight? I was like, hey, I want to wear that Louisiana Legends baseball shirt. And then I realized it was kind of fitting because of all the relief efforts that we're publishing and talking about and the things going on down there. And so this is me paying tribute to my mom's home state, and I got that Cajun blood in me. So, but before we move along, I do want to go ahead and thank everybody that has tuned in throughout the past few weeks. Those who are tuning in now, thank you for subscribing to our Facebook. Our actual Facebook page is I say Facebook. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel. I say that every time. So thank you for subscribing to YouTube. If you haven't yet, you can access that through bit.ly/Dissent Show. Once you have subscribed, you can go ahead and set up your notifications. Those notifications are where anytime we upload an actual video or set a time, we will send a notification to you. You'll be on top of everything. You can follow us all on Twitter. The show is @Dissent Show, DISSENT, and then Ali is @ALI, and then mine is @Devon Wills, DEVONWILLS. And then our special guest here, Matt Margolis, is his name. Actually, it's Matt. I'll let you take the reign on that.
Well, it's just Matt Margolis, MATTMARGOLIS.
Great. And we appreciate you being on tonight. It's funny, Ollie brought up the American Resolve. I remember being the Giuseppe, really, of the American Resolve, being on the back end, coming up with songs, acting almost like a caller every now and then. Like I was too embarrassed to be a part of anything because I didn't think I knew enough to even be part of the discussion. But
you get you now.
Yeah, here we are, literally. What was it? That was 2008, 2009 period of time, and here we are 8 years later, and we're excited. I'm excited about doing the show. And one thing I did want to jump into right away is we posted several highlights of our discussion on Sunday. We talked a lot about the Louisiana flood, the lack of press, the lack of just attention from major celebrities or officials. And I'd like to go ahead and just kind of see how things have gone since Sunday. Ali, I saw you were actually taking out or delivering donations and goods. Tell us how that went today.
Yeah. So late last night, former U.S. Senate candidate Jonathan McConnell out of Alabama, good conservative. Do they call him ex-Marines or former Marines? Retired Marine. Now runs a very successful security business. He came by and dropped off a ton of baby clothes and stuffed animals. And a lot of times during these tragedies, people forget that there's a lot of needs for families with children. And occupying children's time when there is no daycare because the local daycare was flooded, there's no child care, there's no school because it's all hands on deck to get away that sheetrock, that insulation, and anything else that could mold. occupying a child's time with Play-Doh or stuffed animals or other things is very, very important, and it's key and it's crucial to the cleanup process. So I was happy to take his donations and deliver them today to the United Way. Every shelter is different and needs different materials. But the recovery process is going to be long. I had a friend, Richard Norman, call from Virginia today. He said, "Ali, is this going to take months, years?" And I said, if you've got a lot of money in savings and you can really dip into them, then you're looking still at 4, 5, 6 months worth of work. But other than that. You're looking at it longer, or you're looking at not recovering your home, and so we're in the recovery, and we're going to be here on the Dissent show, letting people know about the progress, and it's going to be slow, and I hope that everybody sticks with us through it, because again, this is one of the top 5 tragedies in terms of cost, natural disasters in the United States, and we need everyone's help.
Yeah, and if you are tuned in at this point in time, even if you're watching it later on YouTube, there are links in the description down below to both the Red Cross and the Baton Rouge Area Foundation. And then there's a couple links there for things that Ali has put together. There's a GoFundMe page where we're trying to raise money for bloggers to actually share the stories of these victims. They were neglected by the press for so long that we really want to get in, get personal, see the actual detail and the actual devastation that everyone's been facing, and we won't be able to talk to all 100,000 or 30,000 people that were rescued, but be sure to click on those links, check everything out there. There's also a Facebook note from Ali that it says, it's a bit.ly link that says how you can help, and it talks about a list of items and different things like that. Matt, have you seen any press about the floods up in New York? A lot of people were saying, like on Sunday, somebody said there was literally nothing in California. So being all the way up in the Northeast, was there anything that you were like, oh, this actually is a major deal, or it was just
Well, honestly, I get most of my news through the internet, and so it's like, when stuff happens, if I want to know more about it, I look it up. I don't put on the nightly news or anything like that. But I mean, just the sense of things now, like no one's really talking about it. Like, it's a big deal, and I feel like like during Katrina, like it was.
No.
And it's definitely not one of those. It's not a big deal to a lot of people right now, because I mean, distance is a big part of it. But after a lot of recent tragedy or natural disasters that we've had, there's a lot of stuff about there's benefits and all this stuff, and all these celebrities are coming out, and it's just in your face. And I feel like right now there's really not much of anything, because I'm sure if there was, I would have heard about it. I mean, I get a lot of news online, and I look for things, and I try and be in the know. But I'm just not hearing anything.
Yeah, the most I've seen given by one person, and I don't know how true this was, when I was actually researching donations for Louisiana, it said that Taylor Swift had donated $1 million to the relief efforts.
Lady Gaga.
Gotta love Taylor.
Yeah, exactly. Little T Swifty showing some support there. Yeah, I was watching the news earlier tonight, and there's an earthquake in Italy. 140 something people died. It's pretty tragic thus far, and it's crazy that I know that's 140 lives lost, which is completely sad. However, I mean, that's totally across the world, and things that are happening here on our own soil, they're just not as paramount. They're not as important to get the story across. And one thing that they hit on during the news as well tonight was tornadoes ripping through Indiana. And I don't know if it's because I'm here in Virginia, but the segment that I saw tonight regarding the Louisiana flood was relief efforts from local organizations here, and it was just the local channel. It wasn't anything unlike Nightline or anything like that. So Ali, was Obama actually in Louisiana. I saw your Snapchat storyline. You said that they didn't roll out the red carpet on Snapchat for Trump.
Right.
Probably because is that a... So I'll ask this question. Is it good that they didn't roll out the red carpet for Trump so he didn't take away from the relief efforts and he didn't try to politicize this? And you think it's a little showboaty for Obama?
It's frankly, to be honest, and it's so sad that we have to talk about the politics of disaster and the politics of devastation and tragedies like this, but this is total bullshit. The estimate, Governor John Bel Edwards is a Democrat. I supported him over a sitting United States Republican senator, and they were both running for governor. Many of us, in fact, the swing vote here during this last gubernatorial election just last year, we have off-year elections in Louisiana. The swing vote was Republican voters. We're talking about 4 out of 4 Republican voters, because what we felt like was that David Vitter was a bully, corrupt. I have stories that I still haven't personally shared of his goon squad following me. Anyway, Governor Edwards was elected because Republicans didn't want 8 years of David Vitter. They wanted to come back in 4 years and challenge Governor Edwards. But Governor Edwards gave Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama cover, and by that, because neither of them wanted to visit, Donald Trump wanted to visit. It wasn't a photo opportunity. Governor Edwards said that it would take hundreds of police officers off of their duty. That's not true at all. The highest count that anyone has is 39. I took pictures. I counted about 20 motorcycle officers, 2 Louisiana State Police folks. And then his own detail. Trump did not come with the full press corps. Only AP and Fox News was with him. I was following his motorcade. They did not block the road. It wasn't a distraction. It brought press here. He gave money. It brought other people's money. There are conservative friends of mine from Michigan to Alabama, Arkansas, Texas, who are sending supplies to shelters that I recommend, or some straight to my house. So we need as much attention as we want, and I'm glad that Barack Obama got off his ass and finally came down here. What's a shame is that Democrats have politicized this tragedy, and us responding to their politicization is not making it more political. It's just making it more correct. And Matt, you're like a throwback historian. You ran blogs for Bush. You got your Bush Cheney sign. And I'll never forget. We were toasting each other on Bush's last day for one of our American Resolve podcasts, and really all of our nightmares have come true. It's kind of eerie, but Barack Obama's just as bad as we feared he would be, just as petty as he would be, and
I think he's worse. Honestly.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, let's be honest. The guy ran claiming that he was going to be this big uniter type person, and he wasn't a uniter at all. This guy literally did everything he could to not work with Republicans. For 2 years he didn't need to, and then when they came back to power, he's like, well, screw you guys. I got a pen. I'm going to do everything on my own.
No. Executive order.
Matt,
and you remember I gave him a little rope. Going into the presidency, I said, okay, well, let's give him a shot. You were a little bit more pessimistic.
You gave him more than I did, for sure.
Yeah, well, actually, with that being said, I think this would be a great time to plug the actual book that you've written. It is, you can actually find his book at, what was the read it right for you? It is worstpresidentbook.com. And I actually left a link in the, there we go, The Worst President in History.
Here's the book. I'll a little zoom in there and see. That's my name.
That's how you spell his Twitter handle as well.
Yeah. In case you need to check that out. And even the book has some credentials and links that Troy am supposed to go with the camera here, just like that.
There we go.
Yeah. So yeah.
So I'm guessing just the original election did that get you started writing the book? How long did it take you to realize that I need to write this book and make it known that Obama is a catastrophe?
Well, see, now I had actually written a book before that, back in 2007. My first book, Caucus of Corruption, which I did get a thing here to show everyone as well. This came out in 2007, and honestly, after that, I kind of thought I was done with books. Me and my co-author, Mark Noonan, were just like, that was kind of fun and all that, but didn't really think we had another book in us, and it wasn't a 2008 election that did it. I mean, I was super depressed after that. I mean, the last thing I felt like doing was writing a book.
No.
It was the 2012 election though, where I mean, for the longest time, I mean, Ali, we talked a lot during that whole time, and I think some of me in particular we were convinced that the polls were all wrong, that
Right.
Romney was going to win and all that, and so I'm going into election night thinking, we're booting Obama out, and this is going to be great. I mean, Mitt Romney was hardly, my ideal candidate, but I thought he was at the time, the right
He
guy.
really found his own there towards the end of the trail.
Yeah. So, and then election night was, as we all know, was a disaster. I mean, I think Ali, we talked a little bit that night too, and we were just like, what's going on here, and so, and then once they called Ohio, I'm like, it's over, it's done, and I think I just went to bed. I couldn't even fathom. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, how does something like this happen? I mean, this guy just did such a terrible job. I mean, the economy has only marginally recovered even since the election, but it really wasn't doing that great at that point. I mean, certainly it started to bounce back a little bit, but the thing is, it's like there was. I mean, really, when you think about it, no other president could have possibly been reelected with that kind of record. And when I was thinking about it, I'm like, there's a lot of stuff that just wasn't being talked in that election. And probably the prime example to me was the BP oil spill and the government response to that, which was so horrible. I mean, it was definitely by any measure worse than Hurricane Katrina in terms of the government response. And this was entirely the fault of the federal government, which Barack Obama has responsibility for. And I don't recall ever hearing it being talked about once during the entire campaign. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, there's a lot of stuff that, when I thought about that, I'm like, there's a lot of things that just weren't being talked about. And I thought, well, to make sure something like this never happens again, I feel like obviously that was his last election. I couldn't do anything about it at that point, but I thought if Obama could be elected with such a horrible record, what are future generations going to be taught about him, and what are the history books going to say about him? And I thought, well, I really felt that point that someone needed to write a book that documented really everything that was just horrible about his presidency, because I mean, can you imagine Obama's out of office 5, 10, 20, 50 years down the road? I mean, what are the people that are all about him going to do? They're going to try and put his name on every single building that they can. They're going to try and put him on money. They're going to put a memorial somewhere in D.C. for him. I mean, and this is the last guy that deserves it. I mean, they are going to turn him into the second Martin Luther King.
Well, hopefully not.
Yeah.
I mean, but they're going to try.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my fear. Is that and we don't do ourselves any favors by pretending that he was such a great president. And political correctness is going to make people want him to be remembered as a great president. And I don't think that does us any favors. And now that I have a kid, I'm wondering, what is he going to be taught about Barack Obama? And is it going to be, oh, the first black president was such a great president. He fixed the economy and united the country. And
well, let me interrupt you, Matt. This is why I want everybody on YouTube, Google, and Twitter, and then you folks who are tuning in via my Periscope. I appreciate you. I think that you guys need to go to worstpresident44.com. It's important to buy this book if you have kids, like Matt is saying, because what Matt has done is he's compiled, and Mark, they've compiled a list of facts. I mean, these are historical facts. This comes from coverage of events that actually happened during his presidency. And really, this presidency is like we had to watch Jimmy Carter have a full 2 terms. I mean, to comprehend the level of crap that the American people have been dipped in, you have to buy the book because it's easy to forget that this is the same president who has let most Southern tragedies and most Southern natural disasters go without federal funding or federal attention that will stir up private attention. Matt, you gotta stop getting in that bag. It's right up against your mic. and a lot of people forget that President Barack Obama allowed the Green Revolution in Iran to die off, which led to the death and the slaughter of many young Muslim people inside of Iran. Iran is a majority young country. They could totally topple over the theocracy if they could have had the Western world behind them. But because Barack Obama was unwilling to do that, and now we know why, people died, and there's a dictatorship and a country that's the largest sponsor of terror. A lot of people forget that Barack Obama is the president who supported the Honduras president over the Honduras Supreme Court, which said that their president was taking steps towards a dictatorship. Obama didn't stand with the rule of law. A lot of people forget that Obama's EPA slowed down oil until it was way up there, hurting us all in the gas tanks. And the only reason why gas is the way as low as it is because of innovations that were in spite of Obama's regulation and his administration. A lot of people forget that this is the president who goes to Supreme Court and loses more than any other administration. This is why you have to buy the book at worstpresident44.com, because it's easy to forget all of these things because the news cycles are moving faster than they've ever moved. People have to know that. worstpresidentbook.com. And you better have the old domain. You better have the old.
No, I own that one too. It's just,
yeah, I figured. It's on your freaking book cover. You have to hold it for a couple years. So, but it's so important because this book allows you to flip it open and say, okay, Obama messed up here, and he's got them all categorized by topics. Barack Obama is going to be alive for at least another 40 or 50 years. We have never seen a president who's going to be able to mold his own legacy the way that Barack Obama is. So you have to buy the book. It doesn't matter that Barack Obama is on his way out, because we're all going to be left fighting a media cycle that only allows Democrat scandals to go 24 hours. But we've got the internet, thank God. We've got self-published books, thank God. And really, this is the second edition. Your book has been pretty, I mean, what I would call successful for an indie effort.
Oh, yeah. It's, this is technically the second edition. We published an early version back 2013.
Which I got to read before it was published.
Which you did, yeah.
I remember that.
And
yeah,
I don't know where I was going with that, but
well, I was going to say, with you actually talking about the, he's the first African American president, all that kind of stuff. There's going to be a memorial, like you were saying, and it's, you're talking about political correctness, and just it makes me think of participation.
Not a memorial.
Do what? A monument. A monument. Wow, that was not.
We're talking about those 50 years.
He'll have his library, his foundation, and his legacy project.
Which he's going to raise $1 billion for, so that's what we're up against. So, I mean, the more people that buy the book and know the information, the better, because, I mean, we're going against, at least $1 billion worth of Obama's legacy building empire. So,
yeah.
We've got our work cut out for ourselves. But, I mean, I seem to remember you asked how well the book was doing, and the book, this new version, since it came out early July, has sold quite a few books. I've been very surprised. I wasn't sure how it was gonna go. But we've been selling quite a few books every day. We've been staying pretty high up in the rankings on Amazon. I've been kind of impressed with myself that it's done so well. I mean, not to pat myself on the back or anything like that, but
not to pat yourself on the back, but to pat yourself on the back. Yeah, that's Ali was talking about, and even you're talking about what's going to happen in the future and what's going to happen, 10, 15, even 30, 40 years from now. And it reminds me of actually something that I posted today on Twitter, and that is I always bring up Vince Foster just because I think it's not funny, but it is. It's one of the kind of dark humor.
I like to call him he's kind of our chair guy or our third co-host because you end up mentioning him every episode. And now he's relevant. Now he's relevant.
Exactly. If you don't know, in the National Archives. Pardon?
No, thanks Hillary Clinton, actually. Go ahead.
Yeah. Exactly. So in the National Archives, they went to pull up documents from the investigation into Vince Foster's suicide. If you don't know anything about Vince Foster, Google him, YouTube him. It was a supposed suicide. When they found his body in the park, there was hardly any blood on scene. Gun was still in his hand. If you know anything about suicide with a firearm, the recoil and the relaxing of the body, gun flies out of your hand 99% of the time.
Whoopsie.
And yeah, exactly. They scoured the entire, surveyed the entire park for metal and possible bullet fragments. They found 78 different pieces of metal, and they all, I want to say almost 100% of it was attributed to Civil War artifacts. So these things have been around since, the 1860s, and they can't even find one bullet from him committing suicide. But the other huge red flag in that is he was the highest-ranking government official to be shot and killed since JFK. And instead of having the FBI investigate it, he went ahead and actually Bill Clinton was like, oh, the park police, because his body was found in the park police can investigate it. And it was probably the second worst investigation behind Nicole Brown Simpson. Anyway, but as far as Vince Foster goes, what I was going to say is, today I see an article. It's about not being able to find this investigation information, these documents that are talking. It's an interview with Hillary Clinton and her involvement in the actual suicide. Apparently, she just ripped him a new one in front of legal aides at the White House regarding the Watergate scandal and Whitewater scandal. There we go. Not Watergate. That's Nixon. Anyways, the Whitewater scandal. And so, yeah, wrong people.
It's all the same.
But so they went to find. Long story short, they went to find the documents, and they can't find them. And this is not the first time that documents have wound up, been missing from the National Archives. And so,
did they check Sandy Berger's pants? I mean, they could exhume him and see if they're there.
Exactly. And it's crazy. It's almost. If you don't understand what's going to happen in the future, it's the same reason that if the Republicans or the conservatives were right and Barack Obama doesn't have a birth certificate, they can control that now. It doesn't even matter. It's a non-factor because he's the president. You think, our government's going to allow us to be embarrassed that a person who wasn't a true citizen of the United States, natural-born citizen, it's not going to have a birth certificate?
And let me point out for a second, it was not conservatives and it wasn't Republicans who protested or came up with the fact that Obama may not be a citizen. That was a strategist on Hillary Clinton's campaign, a top strategist who ended up later had to resign. This was during the heat of the campaign when she was going through the Rust Belt in the South, and they had to come up with something racist to attack him with. Some fringe people on the right took hold of that, I think that he was born in Hawaii because I think that the newspaper announcement is pretty hard to have the foresight that you want your son to be the president of the United States and you got to put a birth announcement in a paper in a country that he wasn't born in. But I just want to point that out. The birther thing started on the.
It's all kind of irrelevant anyway. I mean,
right. It is.
Because as far as
I wouldn't uninstall him even if he wasn't a citizen. Let me say that.
I mean, the thing is, his mother was American. I think the spirit of the natural-born citizen rule really involves people who yeah, that really wasn't what it was about. It was about someone who
Right.
doesn't have an allegiance to this country because they were, born and raised in another country. I mean, I just don't see that being ever having been a real issue. And so I'll use this moment to take the opportunity to say that nothing in my book goes in at all to any of those kind of conspiracy theories. We talk exclusively about his record as president. There could be all sorts of books about that. I mean, and a lot of people, liberal trolls that go on Amazon and bash my book are always like, "Oh, it's people, you just hate Obama, you're racist, you think he was born in Kenya and all that stuff." It's like, whatever. We don't go into any of that. We don't talk about conspiracy theories. It's all facts. It's everything that it's all out there. We just put it all in one source.
So it's not the verified buyers on Amazon leaving scathing reviews or anything like that.
No, actually, that's funny. Every single one-star review, none of them are verified buyers. All the pretty much. I don't know how many verified reviews I have, but there's over 50 total. But it's mostly 5 stars from verified buyers, a couple of 4s, and all the one-star reviews that none of them are verified.
Yeah, I do have a kind of a. I don't want to say it might be a hard question. Probably not. I don't know. I get asked a lot by some of my libertarian friends, even some of my more liberal friends, how Obama being president for the past 8 years, how it's affected me personally. And if you could talk to a millennial and explain to them one thing and how his presidency is going to affect their lives, for the next 30 years, what would you tell them that would say, hey, if you don't think you're going to be affected, here's the proof. This is what happened. This is what you have to look forward to.
Up through my shirt.
Well, I think when I look specifically, personally, what's happened to me, I mean, I can definitely say that I pay a lot more for healthcare now. It's gone up significantly. I mean, it's to the point where, I would say that I am part of the large percentage of people now that actually delay getting health care because of the cost factor.
No,
it sucks, but and I'm talking after Obamacare passed now, where I've seen my premiums go up, my deductibles go up, and I've seen the evolution of all the health plans that Obamacare approved health plans, where everything is basically is shifting towards a high deductible structure. That's just how it is. I mean, people are trying to pay as little as possible up front and hope to God that they don't get sick.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. With the healthcare, it's crazy to even see the price of like prescription medications and things that are literally life-saving drugs skyrocket in price, in which it's all privatized, big pharma and all of that. Like I saw something earlier today that back in 2009 EpiPens were $100 and now EpiPens are $600+, and these are things that if somebody eats the wrong food allergy, or eats the wrong food, they're gonna have an allergy and possibly suffocate.
I'm really glad I'm healthy. I mean, I just can't even imagine. But really, almost everyone I know has to take medications for this and that, and I'm sitting here thinking, boy, I'm really glad I don't have prescriptions and all that stuff all the time, because a lot of people I know do, and it's like shit. I feel pretty lucky, and especially in the age of Obama. To me, the where it's hurt the most having him as president has been the wallet. We had gas prices nearly $4 a gallon for a long time, and I commute. I just to go to work and come home every day. I'm putting on 70+ miles a day on my car. So it was really expensive to go anywhere. And for the longest time, discretionary driving was brought to basically nothing for a while, because I didn't want to spend that much money on gas. That was expensive.
Yeah, keep going.
And it really sucks, because now that gas is low again, people are like, oh look, Obama brought down gas prices. Like, he had nothing to do with that.
Love this when they're like, Obama brought down gas prices and the stock market is at an all-time high. It's like, Well, good thing the president has no control over either of those things. He can just make those things worse.
Yeah.
I mean, the president can have an influence. It's like when you ban offshore drilling like Obama did, that sends gas prices. That impacts the market, and it can impact prices. And Obama, he banned offshore drilling. After the BP oil spill, and gas prices went up, and they were hovering on $4 a gallon. And what brought it down was not federal drilling permits, but it was state-based, and it was other things that had nothing to do with Obama. And and people are just like, all the Obama bots want to do is give him credit for everything good and blame Bush for everything bad. I mean, we're in Obama's last year, and people are still blaming Bush.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say there are some things that might have been perpetuated back during Bush's era and time, but yeah, Obama has done nothing to. He's done nothing but kind of stagger innovation or stagger the growth of the economy when it comes to oil. Like you're saying, offshore drilling. When it comes to the actual Obamacare. I know several people who are kind of under the threshold where they have to do Obamacare, but they can't afford Obamacare, and actually the fine for not getting Obamacare and not having health insurance when they pay their taxes is actually cheaper than what it would cost them, for the entire year, paying for insurance.
Oh yeah, I know people that did the fine instead because it was cheaper. I mean, this is something that was supposed to make everything affordable, and it's funny too. Like people are like, oh, but look at all the sign-ups they got. It's like, well, you made it mandatory. You basically told people that you had to. You're gonna pay all this money. So sure. Technically, there were people that either didn't have insurance and got it or whatever. But for the most part, and there was an article not long ago that basically said that. Really, it didn't make that much difference in terms of people who didn't have health care before and now, or through various things, and it's just like
marginal.
Well, then what the hell did we spend all that money on?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I like to tell people is healthcare policy, especially during 2009, became one of my pet projects, and we literally, Obamacare is the worst possible outcome. I would favor a more socialist plan like single payer, public option, nationalization over what we have now, because what we have is this unholy alliance between the government and big pharma that's pushing people out of the medical field, that's pushing people, like you said, Matt, into situations where they're willing to pay a high deductible, not willing to pay, they have to pay a high deductible because they're living on a hope and a prayer, quite literally. And it's if you get majorly sick, you still go bankrupt. So Obamacare did nothing except for force smaller companies out of the market, grow the big companies, increase patient wait times, increase the number of people who have died. It has totally allowed the media to go silent on our veterans who are dying, waiting for government health care through the VA. But this is a good time to plug kind of the Dissent show. Thank you guys for tuning in to hear a few guys this time, chat about today's topics. It is so important, especially those of you guys on my Periscope. Hi. It is so important that y'all go to bit.ly.com/Dissent show. You can subscribe on our YouTube channel. People say, well, Ollie, how can we help your show? Should we send you some money, or do you have advertisements? Is there a call-in number? And really, no, Giuseppe. You can also go to bit.ly.com. bit.ly.com/Dissent show. You can go there, and subscribing to our YouTube channel is the most powerful thing that you can do. It's the best thing that you can do. And I've already promised that once we hit, I forgot what my promise was last week, Devin. It was some number, but then we're going to have a show where I teach you guys some of my debate skills that I learned in my high school career and some through my college, and it successfully allows me to still take some turds out to the gutter, and it's fun. Yeah, go to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter. That's @Dissent Show. We're also on Facebook. You can find us. The URL in the bar is, fb.com/Dissent show. And we love throwing together this show. Matt's our first guest. I'm happy that he's our first guest. We're going to have other guests on. We're going to be pimping books, selling merchandise, because what we want to do is we want to build a community, not just of Republicans or conservatives. I'm so tired of that. We want to build a community of people who are not satisfied with the status quo, not satisfied with the elites, recognize that Wall Street isn't entirely capitalist, that the big rich 1% is talking about crony capitalism and packaging it as capitalism while funding the left with their other hand. And I mean, it's time that we, the people, kind of partner together. Socialists, Occupy, Tea Party, Bernie or Busters, even some of the alt-right, that we get together and say, my views may be fringe or they may be mainstream, but here in a republic where we believe in federalism, I get a say, I get a voice. So please do everything that you can to promote the show, because this is about all of us. And the more people we get tuning in, the faster we're going to increase our production values. You'll see chyrons and lower thirds. Our live streams will get better. We'll have multiple angles. And again, we'll have good hosts like Matt Margolis, and we'll be pimping his book. You can buy it at worstpresidentbook.com. I strongly encourage you guys to buy it. I'm endorsing it. Matt was a pioneer in the blogging field, and he has been a fellow sufferer in the age of Obama, which can really be described as the age of the media not taking the executive branch to task, the age of the people losing so many powers and liberties. Is that a fair assessment?
I gotta do the job that they weren't doing. Pretty much, anyway. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, apparently a commenter on Facebook or YouTube said that your agreement was 55, Ali. So we're looking.
Hold me to it.
Yeah, 55 subscribers, and then he will give some debate greatness and teach everyone how to piss off friends and trash
and make enemies.
Exactly.
Hey, Matt, I just got a comment on my Periscope, and I apologize to my Periscope audience. Those of you guys on YouTube who are constantly seeing me look this way, I'm talking to my Periscope audience. But I can't read your comments from here, not even with the glasses. But one of the comments that I just did check, Matt, they asked, are you planning on writing any more books?
Well, to be honest, after my previous book, I was like, this is probably enough, and right now I'm kind of thinking, well, this is probably my last one again. But I mean, it comes down to when I feel there's a need for something.
Yeah.
I'll do the work and I'll write it. I've always had in my mind an idea for a book that is probably it's many years past the time that it would have been right to do it. I would love to do a similar book to what I just did with Obama, but to as you know, I was a big George W. Bush fan, and I've always thought that it'd be great for there to be a book that takes all the liberal myths about Bush and kind of correcting the record on that. I think that would be a fun book to write, just to set the record straight, because I mean, Bush to this day still gets a lot of flack for things that that I feel were pretty unjust. But I mean, that's something that maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. But I mean, right now I'm focused on getting the word out about this book, because I mean, this is the book that I feel might be my most important book ever, because I look at it as a primer for the history books when it comes to dealing with the Obama legacy, and I wanted to do well, not because I'm trying to sell books, but because I feel like this is bigger.
To get out there.
I mean, this is so much bigger than me and the three of us. And the next election after. I mean, we're talking about the history books here.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I mentioned in my introduction is the legacy of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I mean, what do people think he did? I mean, or what is his legacy? Well, his legacy is he ended the Great Depression, and he didn't. He made it longer, but that's his legacy, that he ended it. and I'm worried about what Obama's legacy is going to be. And if we don't learn the right lessons from history, we're just doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. And I mean, it's always fun to talk about the next book and what I want to do, but I mean, I feel like right now this is the most important thing in terms of my extracurricular activities.
It's a very important book. And people need to get it at worstpresidentbook.com. We have a commenter on Twitter and also Periscope. This is Harvey Martin saying, I am in Yuma. Can you give a shout out to my brother Ellis Ray Martin for volunteering at Celtic Studios? Celtic Studios is, a lot of people don't know this, but Louisiana is the Hollywood of the South. A lot of movies have been made here. In fact, more movies have been made in Louisiana, I think in the past decade, than anywhere else in all of North America. That includes feature films. That includes L.A. One of the studios, Celtic Studios here in Baton Rouge, housed thousands of, I almost called them refugees, victims of the flood. Refugees from the reckless disaster that is climate change. No,
the communist disaster storm of 2016.
Yeah. Putin and his weather machine mixed with the carbon and the But anyway, so thank you, Ellis Martin, for volunteering. I have been so humbled. We have had shootings of people, of officers, and now the floods. It's a really hard year for Louisiana, South Louisiana, but particularly Baton Rouge. And I think that, I'm just so grateful that people are literally driving in from neighboring states to help, that people are sending supplies, people are reaching out on Facebook for my address, for shelter addresses. People are texting the Red Cross and donating $10, donating the Baton Rouge Area Foundation. I mean, what y'all are doing is the real Americana. It is proving that the experiment might yet live on. And Matt, I want to encourage you, there might be a market for a book of We Miss W, because he may be the last Republican president ever.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, on the note of his books, if you have a death wish, you could always write about the worst president in history once Hillary Clinton gets elected. But when that happens, we can say we called it here on August 24th, 2016. That probably would be a bad idea. And you keep talking about history, and it actually always makes me think of George Orwell's actual saying, which is who controls the past controls the future, who controls the present controls the past. And how often do we see that things get changed in education, things get changed in textbooks, history gets rewritten, and it's all about the perception and the worldview of those people who write it. And it's great that people like you, Matt, will write something and to correct the actual narrative that is so biased, so bent, so intent on either destroying somebody's character, their reputation, everything that they stand for. And as we move forward, it is something with Dissent that we look forward to, and that is people writing and giving accounts of what happens in our society from a standpoint of truth, not a standpoint of, well, I'm a Republican, I'm going to write this way, or I'm a Democrat, I'm going to write this way. But it's really hard to be an unbiased, an objective person when you see things. But oftentimes, people they use it as a chance to implement their worldview, implement their ideology, or their belief in whatever governmental system. But thank you for the book. Thank you for feeling the need to even doing that. And I do hope this show helps with some of the sales. And I'll definitely have to get me a copy. I have not.
Even you haven't got them yet?
I don't. I read part of whenever Ali had one of the original copies to go through. I read.
Burn those. Those were so rough. I mean, think about it. I mean, we basically spent in the end from the moment that I came up with the idea to when we published it in July. I mean, that was almost 4 years. I mean, it's been a lot of work to refine it, and the original version was called 150 Reasons and this version here is 200, but there's a lot more than 50 new things in it. I mean, we've consolidated information together. Some things we've taken out because we thought they weren't the strongest points. But I mean, if you really want to get analytical to it, I mean, there's so much more than just 200 reasons that are in this book. I mean, there's a lot of information here.
It's going to turn into a textbook. You know how colleges, they publish their book, and it's like, oh, here's the first edition. The very next year, here's the second edition, and it's the same.
And just for the visual, there's 1,100 some endnotes in this book, and I'm just pulling the book up here right now. I mean, all this part here is endnotes. This is the text, and this is all the endnotes. I mean, we've done our homework on this. And it wasn't exactly the funnest process in the world. I mean, I always tell people that it's kind of like being a health inspector going into a restaurant that is just awful, but you have to document everything for the record. I mean, that's what it was like. I mean, you know how nasty things are. I call it a labor of hate because towards the end, I really hated working on this book. I mean, it was awful because every now and then you just
don't envy you.
It's just like you just want to bang your head on the wall. I'm like, how do people still like this guy? And I'm not just saying that as a Republican. I mean, when you look at the facts, I mean, it's like you understand why Obama lost support from 2000 to 2012, but what you can't understand is why he didn't lose enough to have lost.
No. We offered second best from 2008. That's why we lost in 2012. And to be honest, there was a movement. I say a movement. It was a initiative of NotMittRomney.com, and there was plenty of people around who were not a fan of Mitt Romney. And it was saddening to see. That's how me and Giuseppe, the guy running the cameras on the back end, little shout out once again. He and I became friends because 2012 happened and we looked at each other and said, well, this sucks. Like we got to do something else. But it's under Obama we've seen a lot of political correctness. A lot of people, like I was trying to say earlier, I said memorial instead of monument. But Obama's going to get that monument, and it's going to be like his participation trophy for being the first African American president.
I like that one. I'm going to have to use that.
Yeah, it's a participation trophy. No gold medal, no silver, no bronze, just participation because they give
granite and marble.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of the actual political correctness, I wanted to address something kind of personally here. Kind of change subjects here. I'm a huge hunter, and we kind of talked about this earlier. And the way companies are handling their, we can even talk about Lochte at this point in time, but the way companies are addressing the people that they sponsor at this point in time, like they're so disposable, they have these contracts, things happen. And one thing I wanted to bring up is Under Armour just let go of a hunter named Sarah Bowman, and she actually is we just lost Ali. He might not be feeling too well or something like that. But anyway, so Sarah Bowman, she her husband actually went out hunting, used a spear, and some animal rights activist, I forget her name, got a petition out there. It was like 4,000 votes or 4,000 signatures, and Under Armour dropped her. And I wanted just to take a moment to say that if we do not stand up against political correctness and these social justice warriors and these animal rights activists that go, like I have 3 dogs, and I do everything I can to take care of them, to make sure they have everything they need. And clearly Matt here, hi Zuzu, is taking care of his dog. There's so much things happening regarding this animal rights activist groups. You have Blackfish, you have all these different things where we're trying to point out the inhumane care of these animals. And this was something that the hunting accident, it wasn't even an accident. It was done legally, it was done ethically, and he killed a bear with a spear. Under Armour drops him. If we don't stand up to this political correctness and all these social justice, all this kind of stuff, we're going to lose a lot of ground and a lot of individuality and the ability to do things that we love, the ability to do things that we appreciate. And we are approaching the hour mark. Is there anything that you want to close with, Matt?
Well, I just hope that all of our, I guess we call them watchers, not listeners. We got to get used to saying that. I just hope they all pick up a copy of this book and read it. I feel like, sometimes people say, well, I'm living it. Why do I need the book? And I'm like, well, you need it for the same reason I wrote it down, because you can't remember everything off the top of your head. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here, and it's, I think it's a great reference book for people that, chances are, if you've argued with someone who loves Obama about why he's such a terrible president, you've been called a racist. And you look at this book. There's nothing about race. It doesn't matter what color Barack Obama is. I mean, this talks about his record. Yeah. And if we stick to the facts, we win. And books like this stick to the facts. And if you read the book, you'll know all you need to know. And I just please everyone check it out. The only chance we have to defeating Obama in his post-presidency efforts to craft a legacy for him is to have the facts out there. I mean, just know everything you can.
Yeah, and once again, I was gonna say just to plug the book. Before we get off here, we're running out of time, but worstpresidentbook.com. Go ahead and get you a copy. I've also included a bit.ly link. Actually, it might just be the Amazon link. No, it's a bit.ly, and it's in there. It has the book in the actual URL. Click on there, purchase the book. I'm sure that you will enjoy it. If you like fact, if you like history, if you like thorough research, it's something that I'm going to definitely read. Now, like I said, I've read a little bit of it, but of course that was the first copy.
And it's available in paperback and as an ebook. If you have a Kindle, you can get it that way. It's only $4 for the Kindle, so we priced it reasonably for people because it's more important for the facts to get out there than for me to make more money.
Awesome. Great. Well, Matt, thank you so much for being on the show this evening. I guess we did lose Ali for good, but for those who are still watching at this point in time, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is bit.ly/Dissent Show. Follow us on Twitter at Dissent Show, DISSENTSHOW. Thank you so much for tuning in. Matt, thank you once again. I hope you have a great evening, and we'll see you on Sunday.